Not raised to be a whistleblower. Think about that. I was not raised to be a whistleblower. You have an executive of the department, retired, or someone who wants to run from sheriff when he was telling. The message is, don't say anything. Walk lockstep. Don't get involved. Follow me, and don't go out the parameters that I want. We cannot have an organization where I have somebody up at the top saying, don't be a whistleblower. If you see something that's wrong, morally, ethically, whatever it might be, you have an obligation to go ahead and talk about this and bring it up to people. And if you can't handle it within the organization like I tried, and I tell everybody that the only way you can do it is you got to go outside the organization. And so I've been dealing with the FBI, the defense attorneys, other attorneys, Times. And let me just backtrack just for a second. What's going on now is so pervasive that if you don't believe me, listen to Gloria Molina. She's come out twice now in the last week asking, telling him to step down. LA Times editorial board came out saying, Baca, you got to step down. The ACLU stepped out and said, you got to step down.
That's right.
Change has got to occur. Culture is just one. Mismanagement. We've got mismanagement that's going on that's unheard of. And let me tell you how this affects you, the public. Since 2008, we've been doing a thing called carping. All that means is we're taking people that are working positions and having them work outside their set parameters of what they work. For example, our homicide investigators, our child abuse investigators, our SWAT teams now, since 2008, have had to leave their assignments, go into a court building and say, here comes the judge, and work 8 hours a day outside the parameters of their job. So how does that affect the citizens of Los Angeles County? 8 hours a week, they're not doing homicide investigations. 8 hours a week, they're not doing child abuse investigations. 8 hours a week, they're not training to go ahead and handle hostage barricade situations. They're in the courtroom because the organization is so mismanaged by Baca that the items and people that should be doing that, he's using for his own personal interest. And that's just another story in itself, and I'd love to get into that later on. Another aspect I want to talk about is some of the corruption. The corruption that's going on. If you want to get promoted on the department now, it's a pay to play. You can read the articles in Witness LA, the blog. It talks about how if you want to get promoted, you're going to have to pay Mr. Tanaka a stipend in order to get promoted.
I didn't know you guys have become Nigeria.
Germany!
My sympathy, let me tell you.
Absolutely. So it's like that. Carmen Sandiego, somebody stole our country. We want it back. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's truly mismanaged. The corruption leads into the jail deputies, and that's how I got involved as well. Yeah, and I must preface, 95% of the people in the LA County Sheriff's Department are good, working, hard men and women. And I'm not throwing an indictment on them. I'm throwing the indictment solely on the leadership and a few rogue deputies that allowed this culture to go ahead and occur. When you earn your tattoo by breaking a bone, and then you're allowed to go ahead and be part of this subculture gang, that's inappropriate. Absolutely inappropriate. Now, although this is a jail setting, hear this out. Although this is a jail setting, you think it might not affect you, you get inculcated into the inappropriate culture of the department at an early age when you're a young deputy with only a couple of months on. And I can tell you how this works. If you read the DOJ, Department of Justice report that came out just a month ago from Antelope Valley, the exact same things that occurred in the jail are the exact same things that happened in the Palmdale, Antelope Valley. The DOJ report says we have massive racial discrimination against blacks and Hispanics.
That's right.
Read the report.
That's right.
We've got beating of handcuffed inmates. Read the report.
Wow.
It's all documented. We've got failure to follow the leadership of the organization and break departmental policy. Read it. It's in the report. All that. That's the incestuous, negative culture that's on the department. And unfortunately, the growth starts at an early age when a young deputy comes on. And I just had a brief conversation with Alex. And I'm telling you, as soon as he started talking about it before I did, and I go, Bud, I go, this is exactly the reason why I need to step up.
Yeah, this man is a real
County.
civil rights leader here. Just everything that he's saying is right on the money. I'm sorry, I don't know any of you guys. I apologize for speaking, but yes, I used to be a police officer, and everything that he's saying is absolutely true. There has been a code of silence for the long time. The same thing that Martin Luther King fought for what he died for. A lot of people that have, until now, until what this man has done and talked about, has pretty much been kept hush-hush. Okay, it is incestuous. This is tantamount to a dad that might want to molest their children, that no one ever discusses this type of problem. And so, as he has said here several times, the word culture is very imperative here in us finally making that change. And yes, I will follow you all the way.
Oh, and I need men and women just like you.
Wow.
Well, let me tell you about the hush-hush, and here's the issues that I need to bring up on this hush-hush, as Alex so appropriately said. The sheriff, for 16 years, has known about this. Mm-hmm. And for him to come out, and if you listen to the CCJV, the Citizens Commission on Jail Violence, or any of the other issues on the corruption, he says, well, I didn't know about it. My bosses didn't tell me. I didn't know this stuff was going on. If you're the CEO of an organization, how long do you think you'll be in business? And that was brought out on the Citizens Commission on Jail Violence. They pointed right back to Mr. Baca, and they said, well, how do we hold you accountable? And his response, very flippantly, in my opinion, very arrogantly, was, don't vote for me.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and take that snippet, and I'm going to put that out on my media and say that's the reason why we don't want Mr. Baca. Not only that, they came out in the report, and I'm stealing this from the report, and they said, if you were a CEO, or Mr. Tanaka was a CEO of any private entity, a private organization, you would have been fired a long time ago. Well, if there's any time to fire the sheriff and bring in some sort of stability, some sort of leadership, which is desperately lacking, now's the time. I'm the guy. I'm proven at it, and I say this humbly. I really do. It's hard, as you all know, to come out to be a whistleblower, but you do it for the right reasons. And I have the right reasons, the right morals, and the right principles to put luster back onto our badge. We need to take the true purpose of nobility of policing and bring that back into LA County Sheriff's Department. We need to hire people of character, and we need to promote people of character. And they have to have the integrity to go ahead and do the right thing. With that in mind, I'm running for Sheriff for 14. I'd love it if you guys are able to support me. I can go in much more depth. We can talk about it later on if you like. I apologize. My cards are going to be ready Monday. I wish I had them today where I can hand out.
The way the process will work, both for the edification of people who haven't been involved in it before and for Bob, he'll be given our questionnaire. He can download it from our website. Once you've done the questionnaire, and it's not like a timed quiz in college or anything. You can call us up if you don't understand some of the issues, because they're all over the map. They're designed for everyone from president to assembly to board of supervisors to board of ed. You call us up, we'll tell you what our perspective is. We'll educate you on issues that have nothing to do with your race, whatever. Once we've gotten your written response, it goes to a process of consideration by our Same Page Coalition, which consists of a series of different groups: California League of Latin American Citizens, San Fernando Valley Northeast LA Now, Bring Hollywood Home Foundation, Miss Revolutionaries, the LA Progressive, you name it. We're a lot of different groups. We'll have an interview with them after submitting the questionnaire, and then all the groups will make their decisions.
Good. Oh, perfect. Again, I apologize for being so brief. Jan, you've got my number. Give me a call. I'll give you my email. If you would, be so kind. My website is basic. It's going to be upgraded starting Monday. I just hired a secretary. I'm busy. This is nuts. The phone calls and people and all the stuff that's occurring right now that I had to quickly hire a secretary. So all this is going to be up and running and looking good come Monday. But my website is olmstedinstead.com. So it's OLMSTED and then Instead. Olmsted, ED, Olmsted.com. Please visit the site. Put on there that you want to be a follower or you want some information. Obviously, the donation button and everything there as well. And it will be highly upgraded beginning Monday. I will have my business cards Monday. I just thank you for the opportunity to come out and let me come out here. Prepared on my topics on what I want to talk about, a bit unprepared on the rest, but I'll take care of that later on. So, and if you guys have any questions, I'd like to answer a few if you have them. I mean, I'd love to go ahead and give you guys some more information.
What's your first name?
I'm sorry, Robert.
Robert.
Bob. Yeah, Bob. Thank you. Anyone have anything at all on how it affects them or their thoughts?
I was once a member of the California State Senate and was on a ride-along with the Highway Patrol. We arrested a young man and took him to the jail, county jail, where I witnessed repeated abuses, sexual abuses of the arrestee, as well as his violation of civil rights. And I was wearing a badge at the time because I was a sworn officer, and the Highway Patrol officer went up to the sergeant in charge and said, "You know who this is? You can't do this in front of him." And he says, "We don't care."
Really?
Yeah. We reported the incident to Senate officials, but nothing happened. And what I suspect is that you're up against not only the culture of the department, you're up against a higher form of protection that is pervasive even at the highest levels. Because if the state Senate wouldn't get involved from a report from a sworn officer, then you know what could happen. Yeah.
I ran the jail at one time. As a matter of fact, Mr. Tanaka called me up and he said, "Hey, we've got force that's going on. We've got this low morale and culture. I want you to come in to change it." And believe me, I was able to change it. My force rates went down dramatically, and part of it is just raising the benchmark to get people to do their job. But the second I left, I got promoted and left, it just skyrocketed up to a point where they were getting tattoos as congratulations for breaking a bone. Now you can belong to the gang. And when I found out about this and the tattoos, that's when I went crazy and started bringing this out to the public.
This gang mentality came out in the 1990s, did it? And it was investigated then?
The one with the jail came out recently on the Citizens of Jail Violence.
Yeah, but wasn't there this secret club within the Sheriff's Department that was perpetrating injustice?
Yeah, well, we call it the cigar clubs. The cigar smoking club, which was initiated by Mr. Tanaka. And here's the rub with Mr. Tanaka. He oversaw the investigation of internal affairs and our internal criminal.
Yeah.
And if you there's documentation that he says of, I hate IA. Matter of fact, you know, the 50, 60 people we have doing these investigations, we shouldn't have any of them. So he allowed the disintegration. He allowed the disintegration of our internal affairs. This was reported by a captain who heard him make that statement, who then sent it up to the chain of command. But Baca wouldn't do anything about this. I've got documentation on that, let alone.
Was that Mike Borman?
What?
Was that Mike Borman?
No. The captain was Pat Maxwell. Yeah, it wasn't Borman.
With the experience that I have had, where you would probably get the most involvement in making these changes and issues, it's going to come from your neighborhood organizations. Your block clubs, your neighborhood watch. I ran a number of block clubs, neighborhood watch groups regarding all of this. When the people speak, they write letters, they put them in these folks' jackets, they make the most noise. That's where your change is going to come from. Yeah. All these other folks, they have a reason to keep it going. And as far as the code of silence, that's nothing new. Sure. The gangbangers have been doing it for years. Law enforcement, for me, most of the time, is a flip side to a gangbanger. Okay, you have one on one side doing the same damn thing as the one on the other side. And so I had to deal with that for years. I'm not seeing any real changes. Take it to the people. The people Absolutely. From the neighborhoods are Absolutely. Going to be the ones, because the officers
Absolutely.
Cannot talk and do it themselves, but the people can. And go into the organizations deep in the police department, your unions, your police, organizations, because they can't really say it because they're getting paid and they're doing it. Take it to the people. Take it to the neighborhood.
There are 2 points on that. I will drive anywhere and go anywhere, and you're absolutely right. I need to go to the grassroots. I need to go to the people, the stakeholders, the important stakeholders, because that's how they affect them. The other aspect is you're right, and there's a picture of Tanaka as a sergeant in front of a bunch of deputies in radio car in uniform throwing gang signs.
Oh my God!
And that. Well, it's a gang sign for the station. But if you have the same gang mentality for law enforcement that mirrors the gang mentality of the public, totally inappropriate. I would love to give you the picture. The picture is out there.
Wow.
Did you see Lakeview Terrace? Did you see the movie Lakeview Terrace?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen the movie Lakeview Terrace?
No, I haven't.
Go watch that and let me know what you think of that.
Really?
Samuel Jackson goes crazy, basically, as a
To
police
follow
officer.
up on what she said. I don't know how I got dragged into this kind of matter by Jan Tucker, but here I am. Ordinarily, you and I would be on the opposite side, on the street. I got to be honest. As somebody, because of the kind of activism that I belong to. But if Jan makes this kind of invitation, I will come. And like my sister said here, you could be a unique phenomenon in this process.
Yes.
I'm saying you could win if you go through the routes that she's talking about. Because if they accept your message there, and you can be seen as trusted, because to come and sell the idea in some parts of the community that you're going to be a different kind of sheriff, people are going to say, well, how can that? But if you can persuade people that you are sincere and serious about the changes you are talking about here, I'm sure you could upset the terrain.
Well, you know, I'm anxious and eager to get out there to do that, to get the message out. Like I said, I'll go anywhere and everywhere. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Walk the street. That's just walk the street. Select some neighborhoods, go door to door, talk to the people.
Absolutely.
Take it to the churches, take it to the liquor store, take it to the laundromat. Walk the street.
Yeah.
Take it to
Talk it to
Facebook.
the people.
Yeah. No,
Facebook.
Stay in touch with me.
My Facebook site is already up on that.
All
Stay
right.
in touch with that crazy guy
Right,
over there.
No, that's part of the social media.
He knows
But
the
you
routes.
have people that don't have Facebook.
Yeah.
Do you have people?
Yeah.
These and their children are the ones that are causing the most
Absolutely.
havoc. That are having to address these issues and walk the street. You don't have to be invited from an organization. Pick a street, start that walk. Go door to door.
Absolutely.
Talk to the people on the street. Have your flyers. Have your information out
Absolutely.
there. Hey, you got it.
Absolutely. Let me throw just one more tidbit out, and the reason why, and I say this because I think we need to be on a better track. When Mr. Tanaka, who's running for sheriff, and he's got a lot of support and a lot of money, and that's the sad part, is that when he was a sergeant at Linwood Station, he shot a Korean gentleman in the back, a young kid in the back. Standing next to him was a Long Beach police officer, and all this is documented in court documents. And next to him was the Long Beach police officer said, "We just witnessed a murder." That shooting cost the department over $1 million. But that gave Mr. Tanaka the ability to have his tattoo put on his ankle. If you ever have the opportunity to say, "Mr. Tanaka, do you have a tattoo on your ankle?" Ask him. And challenge him. Challenge him. And challenge him about the shooting.
Was this young man unarmed?
Yeah.
He was unarmed.
He was a dope dealer is what he was.
Okay.
And they shot him in the back.
Okay. Now, this is something that's been going on with not just the LASD, but it's like you said, it's a culture that isn't just, the sheriff's department here. I mean, we would like to say that it is, and obviously there's really bad management, but this is systemic here now, all over the place. So this problem with police brutality is all over the country, and what you're talking about here literally just galvanizes me, for one, because this is what's going to save lives. There's untold deaths right now that have been perpetuated by a lot of these sheriffs with the same old mentality that you're talking about. What you literally have here is a criminal organization that we have worked for, and we've seen all these monies being paid out in lawsuits and everything. But it's just, I'm just like blown away by what you're saying here. It's powerful.
Let me finish it with this, and I know you have your business to take care of. Mr. Baca is referred to as the absentee sheriff. He's not around. He's traveling. He's doing everything that he wants to do, and he lost sight of what the true mission and purpose of the sheriff's department is, and put it in the hands of Mr. Tanaka, and Mr. Baca finally got rid of Tanaka. Mr. Tanaka is, in my opinion, not the right guy because he sends the wrong message. In other words, let's continue with this code of silence. What you need, and I think the people need, is a proven reformer. I can say that now because I stepped out, challenged the organization, went to the press, went to the FBI, and said, we need to go ahead and make change.
Wow.
I want to be the next sheriff. I've got the expertise, I got the education, I got the desire, and I tell you what, I definitely got the passion. So all that said, please, when 14 comes around, June 3rd, please think of me. I'll get a hold of you, and Jan, if there's anyone else who wants to get a hold of me, let.
Yeah, Bob, I've got a question about a couple of programs that Marcus started when he first came in.
Right.
And I'm wondering if they're still in effect. You know, if they're not, can they be reinstated under budget considerations? When he first came in, I remember he started an anti-recidivism program on domestic violence in the jail, and if I recall, he brought back one of the shut-down facilities to be used for mothers with infants. What's happening with that?
I'm not sure on the domestic violence nor the other one at this point. Mr. Baca has put together some good programs to rehabilitate, and that's what custody's for. It's a combination, but it's a balance. It's a combination of deterrence, incapacitation, retribution, but most importantly, reformation. You've got to be able to bring and reform the inmates so they don't come back. I mean, it's absolutely critical. But here's where we fail. Here's where we fail to identify how really good we are, and we must go this particular route. If you work in the business environment, you've got this thing called return on investment. You invest so much, you've got to have a return. And if you don't have that return, you go broke. In public organizations, especially the Sheriff's Department, we do not have this ROI. I can't tell you, and no one that can on the Sheriff's Department, how successful these particular programs are. So we need to build this ROI within all the programs so it'll give us the opportunity to say we have good money being spent for the right reasons, or maybe we need to tweak it a little bit. We got to have a feedback to see how successful we are to go ahead and do this. And that aspect of it, I go, we need to be able to judge how successful these programs really are. I know Mike is working in that particular arena, and Mike can tell you that there are some good programs, but we can't judge or tell you how good those particular programs are. And that's what we need. You know, we've got limited dollars, and we got to be able to get the best bang for our buck, but at the same time, we need to get this reformation set up in the, when the inmates are incapacitated. And the other part is, the tough part is when you get incarcerated, you really have no control on your destiny, on what you do. And we need to give more control back to the inmates. I say that because if someone wants to get a GED, we got to give it to them. And maybe we say, okay, you complete a GED, we'll lessen your sentence 10% more. And if you complete parenting classes, well, that's great. This 5-month, 3-month class on parenting, we'll drop down another couple percent. And anger management. All right, we take this particular class and we'll give you an opportunity to lessen your sentence again. So if you go in for a year or 2 or 3, then all of a sudden now you start whittling away your time in jail. You have control on how long you actually want to spend locked up. And that will give you the opportunity to come out educated, informed, less burden on the state of California, less burden on the populace, and hopefully they're going to come out truly reformed. I mean, that's the intent of doing the whole thing. Let's give a little bit of control back to the inmates as well.
Treating them like human beings.
Exactly. Dignity.
How about let's do what it's supposed to be doing, which was to reincorporate them back into society as human beings.
Absolutely.
What are they learning? Where instead of them learning how to be human beings, the police and the people in charge are learning how to be criminals.
Right.
Ridiculous.
We sometimes forget that there's the one R in the incapacitation or in the jail segment is to reform and to get them so they don't come back in. That's the purpose of the whole thing.
And what about public to serve? What about the serving part of that statement with the police? That's the other part of it.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to bring back the nobility and the true purpose of policing, and that is you have to have the integrity to do the right thing, say the right thing, and at the same time you got to be a sound character in order to have this purpose of really getting back to what policing is about. We're not law enforcement. I mean, names can hurt and kill. We are not law enforcement, if you look at it. We are peace officers. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
Peace officers. Just putting a title on something can make or break your thought process and how you look at it.
Wow.
So if everybody comes in, I'm here to enforce the law, I'm a law enforcement officer, I would challenge you and say, well, aren't you truly a peace officer? Isn't that what this is about?
I think they put it in maybe 6 font, and the other part is in 14.
This is no different than, and I say this, and not in a condescending manner, this is no different than raising a child. You give the best education to your kids, you give the best moral standards and all, you bring them up for the right reasons. Well, you need to do the exact same thing, not only for the constituents, the citizens of LA County, and have them successful, but even more importantly is the men and women in the Sheriff's Department, so they can be successful.
Well, we've got a number of people here from the Bring Hollywood Home Foundation. I'm wondering what kind of role the Sheriff's Department has, in terms of, for example, facilitating film production, in the areas that are policed by the sheriff.
In order to be successful, and I want to use an analogy, and that's this thing called the strategic triangle. The strategic triangle, and I learned this in Harvard School of Business in a class I went to. The strategic triangle is referred to pretty much like a stool. And I'm sitting on the stool as sheriff. One leg of the stool is public value. How do we add public value? Another leg of the stool is stakeholders. And the last leg of the stool is the infrastructure. And if any one of those legs are unequal or unbalanced, you're just going to sit and tip the whole time. The stakeholder aspect is absolutely critical. We talked about it from a grassroots standpoint. We talked about it from bringing the, if we're talking about homeless or education, but whoever's from the Hollywood Foundation, is what are we going to bring back to our county? What are we going to bring back to our constituents? And obviously it's going to benefit everybody all the way around by doing that particular aspect of it. So as sheriff, then you need to reach out and understand that who all these stakeholders are. Inmates are stakeholders. And we need to listen to them. Constituents are stakeholders. The media are stakeholders. And to tell you how out of whack we are, and I'll just make this very quick. When I was working for Sheriff Block used to have on the last Wednesday of every month a transparency meeting with the media. And he would invite the media in the last Wednesday of every month at 10 o'clock and have an open house. What would you like to know? What can I help you with? Do you have any questions? And this created a great sense of transparency, which we don't have anymore. What's the first thing that Baca did when he got into office? Cut it out. We're not having that anymore. For Baca to say he's a transparent person and comes back later on and says, oh, I didn't know what's going on, nobody told me what's going on, and creates an atmosphere where you don't even allow the media to come in and ask questions, what does that say?
Wow.
So, to answer your question in a long-winded way is if we don't listen, then we don't get what we want. So all we have to do is anybody wants to come in, you got an open door, find what is it I can help you with, how can I raise the interest that you're concerned about, and move from there.
Awesomeness.
Anybody? All right, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Again, you got my website, Jan. I'll get the rest of the information out later. And if you guys have any other questions, please feel free.
Bud Olmsted for sheriff.
Yes!
That's